Let's take a look at some other new features that have been included in the latest versions up to 1.0.241. First, a small change. Now we can see that the collections have a color for each branch type. Here in green is the standard branch. Then we have the muscle flat branches used here in the wings in this orange color. Let's collapse the collections here to see it better. In fuchsia color we can see these collections that have the final models, the models that have generated the final remesh. And finally, the muscles have the red color for the collections as we see here. Now let's see the changes that have been made for the Move Obj to Curve feature. We create a reference object to use with the curve. We indicate the number of objects that will be created following the curve. The keyboard shortcut has changed. It is now Ctrl+C to create the curve, and there is no need to exit curve editing mode after drawing it. We press the Ctrl+C shortcut again. This allows us to create a new branch with the number of objects indicated before and with the reference object duplicated that number of times over the curve. When it creates the new branch, we are left with one object selected, which makes it easier to redraw a new branch using that object belonging to the previous branch as a reference. If we press the shortcut again, we create another curve with that object from the previous branch as a reference. If we change the number of objects, now 4, we use the active object as a reference and create the new branch with only 4 objects. This Ctrl+C option we can use to create branches. If we only have one active object, it will be the reference, but if we have more than one selected object, what it will do is move those selected objects to the position of the curve. Let's see some examples. Now when they are moved, the same ones remain selected, and it is very easy to reposition as many times as we want until we find the desired position. And if we only select one again, what we are doing is creating a new branch. And we select several to move. If we adjust the reference object, we will create the branch with this size. To handle the size, if we do not want to modify the reference objects, we have the default scale value here that will mark the size in relation to the reference object. Let's see some examples. With a value of 1, the new branch will have the objects the same size as the reference object. If we reduce this value, the new one will be scaled with that default scale value. And so on, the successive ones will be progressive. If we return the value to 1, each time we create a branch it will be the same size as the reference object. This is independent of the number of objects we have indicated here in int_obj. Changing here, the new branch has the same size but a different number of objects. And that is the new feature to create and move branches with curves. I hope it is more comfortable and more intuitive for you. For now, the objects do not orient themselves to the surface. This is an option that I would like to implement, that I have not yet achieved, and that, as always, I hope improves with each delivery. The branches that we draw, like all of them, we can have the automatic hierarchy option activated and edit them like any other branch. You already know using the hierarchy or entering edition mode, sculpt, etc. With the Ctrl+L shortcut we can select all the objects and move them like this. So with curves we have Ctrl+C to create or move a branch. Now we have a new feature, which is duplicate branch with curve. To duplicate branches, the standard way is the Ctrl+Alt+D shortcut. And now also to duplicate branches by drawing a curve, the shortcut is Ctrl+Alt+C. As always, you can change the keyboard shortcuts in the add-on preferences. So this way we create a new branch with the same objects that the previous branch has and its scales. In this option there is no need to say what number of objects we want because what it does is create a copy of the selected branch over the drawn curve. Similarly to the Create and Move branch option, we press the Ctrl plus Alt plus C shortcut to draw. Later the same shortcut to create the duplicate without needing to exit Curve Edition mode for creating the branch. You already know we can edit the branches like any other. Drawing and duplicating new branches this way and easily adjusting. Let's see a little example of what we could do in this way. Let's see now how the mirror mesh option has been remodeled with the new parent to active option. We're going to move this a little outside the axis to see it better. If we wanted to do X mirror of these arms to get these branches on the other side of the jawbone. If we press Mirror X without any other option, it will simply add the mirror modifier to each branch on the X-axis as you can see here. But this may not work for us if the reference object is not aligned with the X-axis. Then let's undo the operation. Now if we activate the parent to active option, the active object will not be mirrored and it will be taken as the target for mirroring the selected objects. Let's check it. We select the objects we want to mirror and leave the object that will serve as the reference for the axis active. Now it has taken the active object as the axis for the mirror and we have the mirror correctly applied to each selected branch even though it is outside the X-axis as we see here. If we wanted to move this object by changing the position of the mirror axis, it would do this. So for this we have the next option, parent to active. We undo and select the objects that will have the mirror and the active object will be the target for the mirror modifier and also the active object will be parent of all selected. Let's see. Now when moving the jawbone, all the branches correctly maintain symmetry following its movement. Let's return everything to its place, undo and do the mirror again with the active object as target and parent for the selected branches. We go for it. We check. We repeat the operation with the upper part of the skull so that these branches follow the skull. We select the branches that will have the mirror and the active skull object. The options marked and we click Mirror X. Ready, now we have all the branches following the skull. It seems that here one was left unselected. We repeat the operation for this branch. Now yes, we have all the branches following the head. So now we reduce the steps to follow to achieve this. We can do the teeth to test this again. While quickly remembering the difference between the mesh mirror option and branch mirror. Mesh mirror adds a modifier to the mesh generated so that when we modify the branches we will have the same on the other axis. While branch mirror is a copy of the branches from one axis to the other, so we can modify them differently because they are different branches, for example to pose one arm differently from the other. If we only wanted a T-pose, we could also use mesh mirror for that. Let's do the mesh mirror for the teeth. We select the teeth, and the active object will mark the axis and be parent of these. The option's activated and we click Mirror X. Ready, now we have teeth on the other side. Let's leave the mouth open to work better. We duplicate one of the teeth to make the upper ones. They are still children of the jaw. We change that, and go duplicating them to make the rest of the teeth. There it is, we have all the teeth correctly following each part they belong to. If you like the channel, if you want the addon to continue improving, support us by subscribing, liking, help us spread the word about the addon. See you soon.